Prince Harry last night gave a very weird speech to the Church of the United Nations, Now, before the speech, I have to say, he looked a bit wild and uncertain and unhappy. He was holding wife Meghan Markle by the hand, as he so often does. It's like a security blanket. His hair all akimbo. And the speech itself sounded like it was written by a hard-left anti-American activist, likening the United States to Russia.
We're living through a pandemic that continues to ravage communities in every corner of the globe. Climate change wreaking havoc on our planet, with the most vulnerable suffering most of all. The few weaponizing lies and disinformation at the expense of the many. And from the horrific war in Ukraine to the rolling back of constitutional rights here in the United States, we are witnessing a global assault on democracy and freedom, the cause of Mandela's life.
Now, your response to that undergraduate diatribe?
Well, it's very bizarre. I mean, Harry has transmogrified just into a pure Platonic ideal of celebrity with all the contradictions, no normative content, and the United Nations shows what a pathetic institution it is, that it's just interested in glitz and glitter. So one part of the speech, he says, there's no longer a question of what's right to do. It's only whether you're going to do it. In other words, don't you dare have a democratic debate about what I'm telling you. These people are infinitely more intolerant of heresy than any Christian church ever was. There's another part where he laments the erosion of civil rights in America and talks about the Roe versus Wade decision to return abortion law back to all the states to make it a completely democratic matter for each American state. Now, his grandmother is the head of the Church of England. The Church of England is opposed to the taking of unborn life. Now, it's not as opposed as the Catholic or the Orthodox churches are, but generally speaking, it's not in favour of abortion on demand, certainly not up until birth. So he is just, and yet in another part of his identity, he's saying how devoted he is to his grandmother. Celebrity means never having to make a hard choice. And of course, the final thought is, if he's so devoted to all this stuff, why has he flown around the world in private jets, left, right and centre, creating more emissions than, a small African nation put together, living in a 14-bedroom mansion in California, where none of the rooms, as far as I know, house, climate change refugees or anything. I mean, it's a cheap shot to laugh at his hypocrisy, but where does he come off with this moral charge? I mean, he talks about his own life of service. He's had a life of fabulous luxury, tremendous self-indulgence, and a kind of crazy narcissism, which is where celebrity always ends up.
Greg, it is so weird, but I have to say he must have been a little disappointed. I'm sure he imagined the United Nations Hall would look very full of people eager to hear what this troubled man thought about the world. But in fact, he talked to a hall that looked extremely empty when he spoke. And you've got to ask, who was it that thought that this man had something to tell the world and they should invite him? That's the hall, probably, that's sad as it was. Look at all the empty seats. Who thought that he would be the man that had to speak to the United Nations about the future of the world? That's really weird. Greg Sheridan, thank you so much for your time.